Imagine a world where you don't have to go to the gym 6 days a week. You don't have to spend hours prepping food, or you don't have to spend thousands on meal prep services. You can lose 50 to 100 pounds with minimal time and money. I've been a trainer for over 10 years helping big people lose big weight. In this video, I'm giving you the laziest fat loss plan. 2 days in the gym, the easiest and cheapest meal prep, and zero cardio if you want. So on this list, this is the second biggest time-saving hack, and that is steps over cardio. Now, you've heard me say that before, but I'm gonna get a little bit more detail about that. It is important to do your cardio for heart health, but like for the purposes of losing fat, if you lose fat without doing any cardio, you are going to be so much healthier. You can kind of worry about the rest later. So I think it's very important to first shed off the fat. If someone has, let's say, an extra 50, 60, 70 pounds in their abdominal area, that visceral fat, that's not all visceral fat, but that's where visceral fat likes to store, is around the organs, they're going to be far more unhealthy than if they did cardio and kept that fat. And I hope that's making sense. If you lose the fat, you're going to be healthy no matter what. So it's not really a concern of this video to press into the fact that you needed to be doing cardio. So I say cut the cardio if you're in it for a lazy and easy, simple fat loss plan. I say stick to steps. That is just sticking to a step pedometer, your phone, whatever you can, a watch or whatever. Those, by the way, those cheap watches on Amazon, I really wish that they worked well for step tracking, because I would recommend it to all my clients. They're like $40 or $30, something like that. But it tracks everything. The technology in it is just not good enough. All these wrist movements that I'm doing right now would be tracking all those as steps. I've tested all of these over the years. Not like literally every step tracker, but I've tested all the genres of step trackers. Phones, old phones versus new phones. The new phones are much better. And the cheap watches versus an Apple Watch versus a Fitbit. The Apple Watch and the Fitbit are pretty close. The phone is, especially the new ones, is very close. But the most accurate by far is these pedometers right here. This Neskla 3D pedometer, or 3D pedometer, yeah. And that's what I would use. But you can use your phone. It doesn't matter. If it's consistently in your pocket, that's all that really matters. So as long as you're putting it in your pocket while you're moving. Let's say that your average is like 5,000 steps, something like that. Make it 6,000, and you are on your way to losing fat without any real additional time spent doing cardio. Now, of course, you have to spend a little bit of additional time doing the steps. If you don't have a walking pad, that really, really helps. You can literally watch your sporting events, whatever it is, you can watch it while getting your steps. And that is a way that I score. Editing these videos, I'm always on a walking, well, not always, but usually I'm on a walking pad. And I get, 4,000 steps just editing one video. So it's if you have anything that you can work at a computer with a standing desk, a walking pad, it's perfect. If you don't have that, just make use of your day. Just be really intentional, and you'll get better at this. Park further away in the parking lot. Everywhere you go, park further away. By the way, it's really nice. Let's say you're going into Target and everyone's fighting for those front spots and everyone's like circling around like vultures. You get to just go in the back. And honestly, you usually pass them up anyway because they're still waiting for spots. And I don't know, there's this superiority complex that comes over me whenever I'm like, you guys keep on being lazy, I'm going to get my steps. I know this video is about being lazy, but this is a lazier way of doing it because you don't have to commit time to doing cardio. All right, so the second thing, which is not the biggest time-saving hack, that is going to be third, but it's 2 days at the gym. You only need 2 days. I would recommend 3 if you can, but if we're going for the laziest, you only need 2 days. It's diminishing returns when it comes to lifting. So your first day is going to get you, I'm making these numbers up, but 60% of your results. Your second day is going to get you up to 80% of your results. Your third day might get 90%, and then the fourth day might be like 95, and the fifth day might be like 96.5. So it's just diminishing returns, and those first 2 days are by far the most important. Now I'm going to give you some principles here to make those 2 days the most effective they can be. I'm not going to give you an exact lifting plan because I think there's something that can come up with a lifting plan better for you on your situation. That's FitBuddy. It is a tool, free tool that I, used ChatGPT to make. It's in the description. And whenever you say like, hey, this is the principles that Aaron said, and this is the equipment I have access to, it will ask you all sorts of questions, injuries and history and the equipment that you do have access to and how often you want to work out, all this stuff. And you just answer it. And then it'll spit out a custom program for you. So that is in the description, totally free. But I'm gonna give you the principles here. And this is, literally plug what I'm about to say into FitBuddy, and it will really help. So number 1 is hard lifting. Now, if you're brand new to this, don't worry so much about this point, okay? You just want to be in there working on your form, working on your consistency. You're going to get great results. But let's say after 3-4 months, you've gotten really comfortable with your program. Now you're ready to start pushing. Go one rep shy to actual failure. And what that means is, just imagine a bicep curl. If you're moving that barbell up and down, you go until you literally cannot complete the rep anymore. There's some exercises, this is kind of beyond the scope of this video, but there's some exercises that I like to go beyond failure. My favorite ones are the lat pull down and the leg curl machine. So let's just take a lat pull down. If I can't reach my collarbone anymore, I don't stop there. I go halfway, and I keep going. It just scorches my back. Same thing with cable lateral raises or dumbbell lateral raises. If you can't make it all the way up, you can make it halfway up. And so, man, I think that's been the secret to my muscle growth, is really pushing it close to failure and beyond failure. So I hit that point a little bit long, so I'm going to go over that again. Hard lifting. 2 is total body. So obviously, if you're only in the gym 2 days a week, even 3 days a week, you want to hit the whole body. You could, if you're having trouble recovering, do like upper lower if you're doing 3 days a week, and then it would be like upper lower upper, and then the next week you would start with lower, upper lower, and so on and so forth. Again, FitBuddy can help you figure this out. So total body is what I would recommend though. 3 is going to be superset. So you're going to superset 2 exercises of antagonist muscle groups. So chest and back, biceps and triceps, quads and hamstrings, the opposite sides of the body. Typically, I like to use dumbbells. I don't know if I put that in here, because that is going to be the quickest. So you could also machine and dumbbell. That would be something that would be really helpful. So let's say that you were doing the leg curl machine and you had 2 sets of dumbbells, or a set of dumbbells next to the leg curl machine, and you use those for dumbbell squats. So you finish a set on the leg curl machine, would get up, hold the dumbbells, and squat right in front of the leg curl machine so people know that you're supersetting on it instead of resting. So you're using that time, and with this method, antagonist supersets, you're only going to be in the gym for like 30 minutes. Now, I would rest around 1 minute per superset. So you do, like chest exercise, back exercise, and then you would rest a minute. If you're doing your legs and you're doing like a squat and a deadlift sort of movement, you might need to rest a little bit longer. Don't cause an injury because you're rushing it. Don't rush it. The minute between supersets should be enough for you to feel okay. But if you feel like you need more time, certainly get that extra time. So I would also do 2 sets per body part. A lot of times, and whenever I was in college, I remember I was real big on like 6 sets per exercise, and I would do like 2 exercises, maybe 3. So I would do, 12 to 18 sets per body part per workout. And it was just, there was no way I was capable of doing that. I was lifting like a pansy. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that. Now I go in the gym, I lift so darn hard. The 3rd set, really, I could do a 3rd set, but the 4th set is junk. I'm just not able to move the weight well anymore. And the stimulus is amazing. I really don't think you need more than 2 sets per body part if you're lifting all out max. But you could do 3 if you want to cover your bases, especially if you're doing that 3 times a week. That's 9 total sets per week. You're going to get fantastic results there. But even at 6 sets a week, you're going to get great results. And me, I know that people are going to give me crap for this, but I do 4 sets a week per body part, but they are all out sets. So 2 sets on one day, 2 sets on another day. I don't do total body. I go to the gym 6 days a week because I'm a personal trainer and I'm there all the time. Yeah, so I'm going to go over those again real quick. Hard lifting, total body, antagonist supersets, 2 sets per body part, and 1 minute, number 5 is 1 minute rest between supersets. Use FitBuddy to put all of this together. Okay, you can literally go over that summary I just went over. You can back it up, plug that into FitBuddy, and that's really going to help you. Okay, so the 3rd thing, the last thing on this list, the largest time-saving hack is going to be in your meal prep, and I'm going to tell you how to make it fast, because it's not just simply prep your meals and that'll be faster, although it is. And I put it in here. I like how I phrase this actually. Not to get lazy on your meal prep, ironically, because this is a lazy video, but 2 hours of meal prep saves you 10 hours throughout the week. And so even just simply meal prepping is going to get you fantastic results in terms of saving time. But here's what I would do and some principles around meal prep. So chicken is going to be the cheapest. You can get it in bulk. You just trim it up real quick, put it on a cookie sheet, put it in the oven, cook it, whatever. Standard cooking chicken, right? Season it up. The trick here, to pull it out of the fridge and it doesn't feel rubbery, cut it all up into strips or cubes or whatever, and then season it, put it in the fridge. When you take it out, put it in the air fryer or into a pan again. I know that's a little bit of extra cooking, but instead of microwaving it, if you do those methods, it comes out a lot more like it tastes fresh instead of it was prepped. That's the trick to chicken not tasting rubbery. And then a hack for you is canned beans, or if you don't like canned beans, I use that as my, I should mention this. I use that as my base for carbs because it allows a high protein carb to be the carb of the meal. So beans have a lot more protein than rice or noodles. But if you want rice or noodles, that's totally fine. Obviously, cook an entire box, like bulk prep the noodles. You know, get a rice cooker. Oh my gosh, saves so much time. A rice cooker and a lot of pressure cookers have a rice cooking setting. So you can make a lot of carbs all at once. You could also use a pressure cooker or the sheet pan in the oven to prep a lot of potatoes. So whatever, pick your carb and prep it in mass. You could pick two of them if you want to, you know, and then beans and rice. And now you have a variety of meals. So we're prepping ingredients here, not meals necessarily. Frozen veggies are the way to go. That doesn't reduce their nutritional value. In my opinion, frozen veggies, you can heat them up, especially those microwave packs. Those things are going to save you a lot of time. So, and they're relatively cheap. And then I use coleslaw mix. So instead of frozen vegetables, I like that fresh crunch, and lettuce goes bad way too fast. So I use dry coleslaw mix, no coleslaw dressing or anything. That's where, you know, the calories come from. Low fat mozzarella cheese. And then my go-to snacks are cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and beef jerky. Those are the three high protein snacks. So to go over that again, chicken baked in the oven, canned beans or prep noodles, rice, potatoes, just in mass, frozen vegetables or coleslaw mix, fat-free mozzarella. That is like a go-to easy meal that you can do. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to eat that for every single meal, right? So you might do eggs or something in the morning, something easy. Use my cookbook, free, again, in the description, in the pinned comment. Use my cookbook for like a tasty, easy heat up, you know? So I would alternate between the meals I just described, where you could just like mix and match and make those meals, and one meal from my cookbook. My cookbook makes meal prep size meals, so it might make, 9, 10, 11 servings. And it'll tell you the grams in the cookbook. Delicious recipes, really cheesy stuff. They're awesome. High protein, lots of volume in terms of the food that you're eating for, less calories. But let's say you made the cheesy Mexican protein rice. That's my favorite one. I bring it up all the time. So if you're able to pull out like this, chicken bowl with noodles, and you could add some red sauce or something to it, and then you have a cheesy Mexican protein rice meal, and then you have these snacks. For me, that is plenty to get through the week, and it saved a bunch of time. And so this whole concept, if you did this, went to the gym 2 times a week, you were getting your steps and always trying to increase those, and you were prepping your meals, all you would have to do in order to reach your goal is track your weight. Every single morning, track your weight. And if it's not going down, if the trend line is not going down, increase your steps, reduce your calories, or just reduce the amount you're eating. If you're kind of prepping the same things, you can sort of tell, like, should I be eating, what I'm eating, then just eat a little bit less. So for instance, instead of, a fist size serving of potatoes, make it half of a fist or something. And definitely be careful with the sauces and everything as well. You could completely remove those sauces, number of drinks you're having per week, things like that. You can leave questions in the comment. I'll actually get back to you for 100% of comments, at least, unless this video blows up. So if you did that, and you increase your steps or reduce your calories as based off of the results you're getting, you're going to get, in this simple, fast plan, you're going to get all the results you want. And you're just going to have to keep on adjusting. Now, the problem is sticking with it. And so if you have never experienced this going all the way in your fat loss journey, there's a lot of mistakes that I made. I talk about that in this video here. So watch that next if you're interested in avoiding those mistakes and saving yourself years.